Good. Hello, this is Gilgamesh. I want to talk about this movie, and it's on Netflix. It's done for Netflix. It's directed by David Fincher, and it stars Michael Fassbender as this assassin. And I know a lot of people have seen John Wick, and it's a big action. But in reality, I don't think this is. I think this movie's closer to how it really is to be an assassin, which is that it's a boring life. It's like when the whole idea with David Fincher did this series for Netflix about profilers, like the early days of, FBI profiling when it got started. And John Douglas, who actually probably one of the most famous FBI profilers, said that the thing about being a profiler is that you essentially sit around reading. If you like sitting around reading a lot of stuff and trying to come up with the idea of who the killer is, that's essentially what a profiler is. Here, this movie is more grounded in reality about an assassin who basically his job is to he's begin the movie. You watch Michael Fassbender, and he's basically scouting this location because he has a target to kill. And you know, you like it really takes its time. It's almost a 2 hour movie, and it takes its time getting, where he finally, you think he's after this woman with this kid and everything, but no. And you finally he's set to kill his target, this business guy. We don't know who the target is. We just know he's been paid to kill this person, and he screws up. And that not giving much away. That's just the beginning of the movie. He goes to kill the target, and he kills this stripper instead, and fucks up royally. So he basically essentially has to get the fuck out of France, and he does. And he heads home, and essentially his girlfriend's been violently assaulted. This is just the beginning of the movie. And he finds out from her that she was assaulted. As the movie progresses, he doesn't take the time to reflect and go, okay, maybe I'm the one who's the reason for this. And we know he's to blame for this because he screwed up. And what they did was essentially the people that hired him through the client that wanted I'll get to spoilers of this movie, is that he essentially decides he's going to get revenge for his girlfriend's assault by going after find the hitman and everything, and essentially he starts, trying to find out who, was responsible for his girlfriend's assault, instead of looking in the mirror and realizing he's the one that caused all this. Because remember, he was supposed to kill her, and he didn't. He didn't get the target, and basically he had to get the hell out of France. He doesn't reflect and realize he was the reason for it. No. And how we know this, because he gets the driver, the guy who drove him, and the driver realizes, oh, and he tries to explain, and basically he says, don't get emotional, don't get emotional. And he, he essentially, like, takes this guy has him drive to a deserted area, and then forgetting that a bunch of people saw him, all these other drivers saw him get into the guy's vehicle, so his face is going to be known. It's a problem with Michael. He doesn't think that, he thinks that he's covering his tracks. And so he essentially gets the guy who drove the person who assaulted his girlfriend to his home, and he kills the driver. After he tells him, and essentially then what he does is he finds out that there's the lawyer played by Charles Parnell right here, and his secretary. He goes there and he basically confronts him. He says, There's still a way out of this for him. He doesn't listen, and he has a nail gun. He goes through all this for revenge. That when we get to, well, Tilda Swinton's in this, and she's fabulous, by the way, in the movie, is that he never once reflects that maybe his failure is the reason his girlfriend got assaulted. Nope, never once reflects on that. So that's why this whole idea that he's, it's the way that he sees things, that he takes no responsibility for his failure to get his target, and he thinks everyone else is responsible for what happened. So he deflects off of himself by putting it on other people. So he finds the lawyer, and the lawyer says there's still a way out of this. You can still walk away from this. It isn't, and he doesn't listen. He hits him, shoots him with a nail gun. The guy literally bleeds to death. And the secretary, basically scared for her life, knows that she's going to die, so she asks him, when you do kill me quick. I don't want to suffer. And he eventually gets the name of the person who did the assault, and he gets the name of the lawyer. Not the lawyer, but he gets the expert, played by Tilda Swinton. He goes to the brute's home, and basically this guy's huge, and they have a violent fight out, and it's not gonna, like I said, this getting into, without giving away the ending, he finally finds the expert. And this is done in chapters, so it's broken up, and even says chapter 1, 2, 3, all the way till we get to the client, which is played by Arliss Howard. But the expert, when we get to Tilda Swinton, she basically, in a way, points the finger right back at him and says, you know that you failed to get the client, get the target. And that's why this happened. Explaining that your girlfriend getting assaulted is because you failed to take out the target. Which is really what's going on. This guy can't even own up to his own failing and like I said, it's a really great movie. It's not an action-packed film. There are scenes in the movie where it's like him trying to get away, like after he fails at the assassin, his job, him trying to get out of France, and everything he's doing to try to get out of there. It's like that's actually intense. And then you watch methodically as he puts blame on other people instead of looking in the mirror and seeing himself as the reason his girlfriend gets assaulted. And and then you do eventually meet Arliss Howard, who is the client. And like I said, it's a well-done movie from David Fincher. If you haven't seen Mindhunters, which is about the early days of the FBI profile, I recommend watching it. Now, I'm going to go through the movies, David Fincher's movies. I'm going to explain why Alien 3, if you notice it's not Aliens 3, because David Fincher was trying to make a sequel to Alien, going back to the idea of the original film, which is the parasite. But here's the problem: the studio interfered. He walked off the project. He didn't even come to the idea of the Queen being inside Ripley, that her being, having a new queen. That wasn't even, from what I understand, wasn't even in his story. That was the studio, because they wanted this to be a sequel to Aliens. I hate Aliens. It's not a sequel to the fucking original Alien. It's a total pile of shit. And I'm not a big James Cameron fan. James Cameron's a piece of shit director. He does one good movie, which was Terminator, and everything else is absolute dog shit. And Terminator 2 is him trying to reboot the first movie because he said Sarah Connor wasn't a strong enough wham in. And all these people like, oh, James Cameron is the reason you have the shitty directors like fucking all the crap you see from fucking, Zack Snyder and, Abrams and Rian Johnson and fucking, I'm not talking about Michael Bay's two best films he ever made, which was The Rock and Bad Boys, the first one. But it's the other shit. And James Cameron got fired from his first movie, which was Piranha 2: The Spawning, a really terrible film. Yeah, but here I'm gonna go through because I've seen David Fincher's movies, and he does have some hits and misses. Like, I think this movie is really great, The Killer, which I'm talking about. And I did like Seven. I thought, I know Matt Christensen said he hated, certain character of, you know, the Gwyneth Paltrow's character, Tracy. But here's the thing is that, and I've tried to explain to him, and he doesn't get the movie, is that what it's about a guy who basically is so religious in that he's punishing people and himself for the seven deadly sins, which everybody has committed. People have committed the seven deadly sins, and so he's so religious in that he has to punish sinners, and he's a sinner, and he admits it. Envy was his sin. So yeah, I actually like the dark nature of Seven, from the Nine Inch Nails song. I think it's called Animals, where it literally says, "I want to fuck you like an animal." Yeah. And yes, it has Kevin Spacey in it. Yes, he's a child molester. He's not a pedophile. Like Epstein's a child molester, not a pedophile. They actually call him hebephilias, are those who fuck teenagers, who Epstein was. Everyone keeps calling him pedophile. He wasn't into preteen kids. He was into teenage girls. But getting back to David Fincher, I've seen Benjamin Button. It's a good film. I like Zodiac, even though the problem with Zodiac is the author literally never proves in the book, and I've read Zodiac. And in the movie, this is the biggest problem with the movie. I mean, from the point the author who wrote the book, Zodiac, is that he points a finger at this one guy, but never proves that he actually was Zodiac. He doesn't, and that's a big problem. Because I remember when I don't know what studio did it. They did a movie called Zodiac Killer. If you want to see a bad film that's hilariously bad, they thought by making this movie would draw the Zodiac Killer out. You have to watch the movie. It's so goddamn bad that if I were Zodiac Killer, I would not come out. I'd basically like, fuck you. That movie's trash. And it is bad. It is hilariously bad of a film. And I did like Zodiac. I thought it's a well done film from David Fincher. Now, I know a lot of people, and I don't understand this, Gone Girl is a pile of shit. The acting is atrocious. And don't get me, I actually watched this movie. It was so boring. It was so bad. The acting is atrocious. Ben Affleck sucks at acting, and he is atrocious. Everything was bad about it. Everybody's stupid in the movie. From the fact that his wife, and I get why she sort of goes about doing what she does to her husband, because he decides to take her out of the city. This is where Seven and Gone Girl sort of have two female characters who are kind of similar but different approaches. In Seven, the wife didn't want to move to the big city. She kind of doesn't like the city, and this is why when she finds out she's pregnant, she doesn't tell her husband right away. Plus, her husband's kind of a dick in the fact that he's so obsessed with trying to get that promotion, get the case solved, that he doesn't talk to his wife. Even when his wife decides to tell him that she's pregnant, he doesn't talk to her. Instead, he goes to work and then finds out afterwards that his wife was pregnant. Yeah, because she called him and. But here in Gone Girl, the wife, they lived in the city, and he decided they're going to move back to a small town. And his wife isn't happy. He never talks to his wife, and his wife thinks that she's going to pull off faking her death and everything. It's really a stupid movie. The female lead detective the cops are stupid. Man, honestly, this movie is a train wreck with some of the dumbest acting I've ever seen. And I ain't talking about Ben Affleck. I'm talking about oh my God, this movie's goddamn so pretentiously bad. It's like one of the worst. David Fincher, it's like, yeah, he creates one of the worst movies I've ever seen. It was so boring, so predictable, and it's like at the end of the movie, so dumb. And I'll give away the ending. She kills her ex-boyfriend. She fakes her death, and basically she's out there. And her parents they're constantly out there talking about how we want our daughter to come home. And she meets these two drug addicts, and essentially nobody else puts together. They can see the parents, see that they're talking about their daughter, and she's right there. None of these idiots seem to put together that she's the one that supposedly is missing. And she goes to her ex-boyfriend, who has cameras all over his home. And then she brutally murders him and finds out she's pregnant, by the way. And goes back to her husband. They never look at the camera because they footage and find out she lies, by the way. She lies to the authorities claiming, oh, he was going to, assault her and everything. And it is a really, I've seen people, this movie's really good. No, it's a piece of shit and stupid. It's kind of like Fight Club. Fight Club is one of the stupidest movies. I know the author lives here. I think he still does in Portland. He was here when he wrote the book. I couldn't stand this movie either. I mean, it's dumb. It's stupid. It's a waste of a fucking movie. Unlike The Killer, which is, really good movie. Like Zodiac's a really well done movie. Hell, even Panic Room. I enjoyed the Panic Room. I did. I thought Panic Room was good. I love the original Girl with Dragon Tattoo, the Swedish film. I wasn't completely. It wasn't his version. David Fincher's version tries to stay true to the original. The problem is, the actress who's supposed to be the girl, she's kind of. I didn't like her. I didn't like her performance. Yeah. I didn't hate the movie, I just thought that her performance wasn't great, and it didn't have the same feel as the original Swedish film. And I saw The Social Network. Yeah, that's this movie, and what a movie. It wasn't the most exciting thing. I mean, it's a David Fincher movie, and like I said, I've liked some movies he did. I don't care for every movie he does. Like, Benjamin Button, I was bored with that movie. I didn't think it was that good. I'm trying to think, what? I don't know. Yeah, but this is actually one of the worst movies I've ever seen. Still not as bad as Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, but Killer is actually really good. It's probably one of his better latest films, and the cast is great. Everybody in this movie is really good at making this, And so, yeah, I wanted to do that and talk about some of his other movies. So, yeah, I recommend go to Netflix and watch this movie and watch Mindhunters, which is about early days of the FBI profiling. If you've seen the show, there's movies and stuff. I mean, really, profiling's a boring job where you sit around reading. You don't actually go out hunting for the serial killer and everything, or the arsonist. You literally have to create a profile of what this suspect is. That's essentially what the job is. It's not like the CBS show that where they made it look like they actually going after these people. No. And this is the same thing with this movie. The Killer is really, it's a boring thing. You sit around, you're studying, you're trying to figure out the movements of your target. And that's essentially what the movie The Killer is. This guy basically has to spend a lot of time basically figuring out when the target's going to be there so he can kill him. Like I said, he screws it up and then everything goes to shit for him. But he never reflects on himself and says, I'm to blame. He blames other people. I did like this movie. I really enjoyed it. I watched it. It's now almost 2 hours long, and it's worth watching, so I'm recommending The Killer. It's a slow movie. It's not going to be an action-packed. You're not going to get a lot of, the John Wick, action movie. This is more realistic to what an assassin, what their life is really like. So, yeah. Kind of like when you see movies about spies, like James Bond and everything. it ain't a lot of that stuff. It's a lot of you have to lie your ass off. Like, okay, I'll give you an example. Imagine you're gonna you're gonna go and bed yourself in a terrorist. The CIA will create such a profile and spend time making making you out to be like a traitor. And they do this. They will set up they'll create a fake version of yourself to sell you to get you into a terror. They'll make it look like you betrayed your company, put you on the FBI, all that stuff, just so that they can get you embedded into one of their terrorist organizations, like let's say ISIS or Al Qaeda. So they have to proceed to create such an image, this fake image, and they'll put it out there like, oh, you're a terrorist, because they need to get you embedded. So they have to, and essentially CIA, like this, is you have to lie about who you are. And this guy in the movie, you see, has all these different fake IDs, like a credit card and everything. And he has to, literally that's what he has to do. He has to pretend to be someone else in the public image or when he's engaging with people, because he can't give out who he is. Just like in the CIA, when you work in the CIA and you're undercover, you're basically being a spy. Your whole thing is you have to lie about who you are. That's what he's doing in this movie, and this is more realistic than anything you saw in John Wick about the idea of an assassin. It ain't that glamorous life you think it is. It's a lot of just waiting patiently and studying your target and figuring out the best way to kill them. That's what you're doing. And it's a boring life. And that's why I appreciate that this was more rooted and grounded in reality than in the hyper-action realistic of the John Wick films. That's what I'm going to say. This movie does a good job of making what an assassin really, what their life is really like, more realistic than anything in John Wick. And not take anything from the John Wick films. Those are what they are, action-packed. They want you to, they're big action movie. This is more of a slow burner that takes his time getting to the conclusion, but at the same time, he's not a good guy. Understand this. The killer is a bad guy. He's an assassin. And he can't look at himself and see that he's a bad guy. He thinks he's morally right and can't even put together that his screw-up in killing a target, his script at the beginning of this movie is what lays everything else in place. His girlfriend getting assaulted, he can't take and look in the mirror and realize he was the one. That's why when Tilda Swinton points this out, you're like, yeah, you're the bad guy. You screwed up. This is why all this happened. He can't even realize, and she knows what's going to happen to her. She goes, this will be my last meal. Not giving anything, not the ending away, but essentially this movie is, worth seeing. I know I talked about other stuff, about some of David Fincher's other movies, but this one, the whole thing is that he thinks he's morally right in what he's doing. He can't see that he is the reason his girlfriend got assaulted. He can't. There are people like that. They're so, they never will take responsibility for their actions, and that's why I love Tilda Swinton when she's talking about the restaurant, basically pointing the finger right back at him, and yet he can't see it. He can't realize he's the problem. Basically here's the thing. He meets the client, which is Arliss Howard. He meets him, and the guy doesn't even know who the fuck he is. And he basically reveals that, I don't know who you are. And this is the first time he ever hired someone to take someone else out, so he hasn't had the experience. And he realized that this guy's just a rich, one of these capitalists who thinks that they can do whatever they want, there's no consequences. And essentially, the confrontation happens, and Arliss Howard's like, he doesn't know who he is. He goes, I don't know who you are. And he doesn't, and then essentially, the killer realizes he doesn't know who he is. So he could have walked away a long time ago. And so he basically makes this vague threat that if he tries to come after him, he'll come back and kill him. And I don't think Arliss Howard even cares that he killed all these other people. He literally is like, I don't care what you did. So he realizes there's nothing going to happen to him. He's literally going to get away with all these murders that he did because of a revenge that he wasn't entitled to because he screwed up a hit. And so, yeah. And so, the end of the movie is he and his girlfriend retire. And, oh yeah, when he meets the lawyer reveals, you have more money than you know what to do with. And like I said, he tells him, you can still, there is a way out of this. Telling him to just stop what he's doing and they can fix this. They can fix this, but he doesn't listen. He never listens when he's being told, hey, we can solve this. You don't have to do this. You don't have to kill me. You don't have to kill her. That's why he's telling her it's going to be fine, because he figures if he talks to him like a person, treats him like a human being, that he'll understand there's a way out of this, but he doesn't. He can't get himself out of this. And so he basically essentially has put himself in a predicament that's his own doing, and he can't, oops, sorry. God damn it. That's me being, is that he can't stop himself from basically screwing this whole thing up. So, yeah. So that's essentially the whole, but I recommend seeing it. Me describing this doesn't do justice to how good this movie really is. And I've heard, like I said, I watched Critical Drinker's review of this. Everything he says is actually pretty accurate to the movie. And this is not an action film. This is a slow burner that takes its time to tell the story. And you realize that this guy, this killer, and that's all he's called in the movie, nobody has the real name in the movie. They all have these fake names, and essentially they have nicknames. Yeah. And, each part of the movie is done in a chapter from the beginning to the end of the movie, and you realize he never once stops to go, I'm the problem. I'm the reason this happened. So I do recommend this movie. So yeah, I'd go watch it. It's on Netflix. The Killer is worth the over nearly 2 hours to enjoy a realistic portrayal of what an assassin really, what their life is really like. Not with the script, but what it takes to do their job. So yeah, go watch it. David Fincher, this is one of his better movies. So yeah, this is Gilgamesh. I will talk to you later, and happy Thanksgiving. Bye.